Welcome to my first tutorial on how to set up a login dialog to take you to another scene and with a bit more interaction. I'm going to span this tutorial over a couple of episodes and I'm basically going to make a Flash interactive document based on Windows actually. So I'm going to start by making a new stage with specific sizes, and then I'm going to create the login credentials to go on to the next scene. Okay, so I'm going to start by making a new document. The screen size of 1024 by 768. I'm happy that it's a pixel rate for the units, and it's 24 frames per second. Okay. I'm going to change the screen size so I can see the whole screen, and I'm going to go over to my library in the right hand side. Next I'm going to import some pictures into my library that I'm going to be using to demonstrate this tutorial. So I'm going to go to File, Import, Import to Library, Documents, Flash Projects, Tutorials, Login Script. Now I always put all of my projects into project files. All of my projects have the same set of folders: audios, images, and raw files. I'm going to get my images in here, which I made in Photoshop, and I've made 4 of those. For this tutorial we won't be using all of them, we'll only be using the blank dialog and the wallpaper. And I'm going to press open. Now as you can see, they appear in the library on the right hand side. Something I find quite useful is making a new folder so that we don't lose anything and they're easy to get to. Now, in this first layer, I'm going to call this my background layer because I want to put the wallpaper on it by clicking and dragging. And then all I'm going to do is lock this layer so I can't accidentally move it and it doesn't mess up any of my animations. And I'm going to extend my layer by clicking on frame 60 and pushing F5. Now, as you can see, it extends that layer up to frame 60, which is about 2.5 seconds as indicated on the bottom here. Now I'm going to input my blank dialog. Now, like I said before, I'm going to try and make it a little bit like Windows. It's going to be a small simulation just of a login screen where you have to enter a username and password and go on to the next screen, which would become our desktop over the next couple of tutorials. Now I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this login dialog background. And I don't want it to just show up straight away when I load the simulation. So I'm going to start it in about 1 second, which is indicated at the bottom here. Now I'm going to right click, create a keyframe. This means that anything after this point where the circle is my new live animation, and anything before that is an empty space. So I'm going to drag my blank dialog to the screen, and as you can see, we now have a dialog live on the screen. If I move the time stick before that, it's not there. If I move it onto the lightly grayed areas, it's live. Next, I'm going to add some text to it. That's simple again. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call it dialog text. Click on the text tool, change my color to white, or not, and change it to black even. And then I'm just going to click on the screen. You can also zoom in by holding down the control key and using the middle mouse button, or alternatively you can use the zoom button on the left hand side. Now I want to put some text up here to show what this dialog is for, some basic user instructions, some user field names, and so on. So I'm going to call this with a new keyframe Flash OS login credentials. I'm going to change my font to one that most people probably may not have or may have, depending on what software you have installed. Condensed bold. And I'm going to push the left arrow key. Now, because some people may not have this text, you need to click on Embed and then click All and OK. This basically means when you export it, it exports the font into the file, which makes things a little bit easier. Otherwise you'll have a couple of errors later on. Now, just realised I haven't actually saved this project yet, so I'm going to do File, Save As, Projects, Tutorials, Login Script, Login Tutorial. Now, I need to make some basic instructions for the user to use. So staying on the same dialog text layer, just make sure I've locked up that one so I don't accidentally move it. So let's give our user some basic information. So this terminal is locked. Please enter username and password to gain access. So there's some basic instructions for the user. We're going to need a username field and we're going to need a password field. And next, we're going to need to add an empty text field that we're going to use for our action script. And we're going to use 3 action scripts. One is a stop script, the second is a login password check script, and the third is a navigational script. Now I'm going to lock those layers so we can't move them. Make a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer Dialog Fields. And in this layer again we're going to create another keyframe, and we're going to open the Components panel. Now you can open the Components panel by clicking Window and clicking Components, or again you could also do Control and F7. User interface is what we want. Now we need text input area, and a button. Close that. We also need to make that empty space I was just telling you about as well. So I'm going to just make an empty space there. I'm going to test it by just typing incorrect username or password. I'm going to centralize that. Make sure it's roughly in the center. About there, I think. Now to change the sizes of these 2 fields, you have to hold down the Shift key to select both of them at the same time. Now that we have them both selected, we can change the size of them by clicking on the transform tool, or changing the size over here with the scale and position. So we can make them longer or shorter. I just want to make them a little bit longer, there we go. And because they're both selected, I can move them over here to the left so they're a little bit closer to the text. And I can move the label, I'll move that underneath there. Now we need to assign a proper name to the label for the button, so we click on the button. On the right hand side here, we can change the name of it. This is called the label, so I'm going to just type login. We also need to add a name to this button. So I'm going to call it, in the instance name up here, login1, and simply hit enter. The username field, you guessed it, username with a number 1 at the end, enter. Same with the password, enter. And now the incorrect username or password, we want to change that from static to dynamic, and we need to change that name to text1. And now once that's done, you can delete the text out of that box and click on the arrow up here so it remains blue. Now that that's done, when you off click it, it should go to a black kind of line like that to show that there's a field there, but it's a dynamic field. Now we're going to put a stop in place so that the movie doesn't continually play. Now what I mean by that is, if I go back to the full screen, when I view this now, what will happen is it will play this entire time sequence and keep replaying it over and over again in a loop, as default with flash files. So as you can see, it plays it and keeps flashing, and it will keep flashing and flashing and flashing until we put a stop command in. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call it Actions. At the end of my timeline, I'm going to create a keyframe. Going to right click and click on Actions, or you can go to Window, click Actions, or press F9. Once you've done this, it will open the Actions screen where your cursor was originally, down here. So at frame 57, again, Actions 57, we're going to type the stop command in, so it stops the flash video whilst it's playing. So stop, open bracket, close bracket, semicolon, enter. Then I'm going to save it so I know that that action has taken place, and you know that that action script has taken place when it appears on the left hand side here. Now if we close that and preview it again, you'll now see the Flash OS login credentials screen opens, and it's staying there. It also allows us to type in these fields. Unfortunately nothing happens because we haven't done the script for this yet, but we know those fields work, and the button is clearly something you can click on. So now let's look at changing the username and the password and the login to direct us to another screen. So we go back into the Actions menu, go to press enter so we're on the third frame, or the third line of the script even. Now that we're back in the Action script, we're going to set up the first part of our password check. And we're going to do this by typing in function space password check. Now this is the name we are giving to this function that we will use later on in the script. Now open bracket E colon, we want it to do something when we click our mouse on the login button, so a mouse event, void open lower bracket. Now as you can see, because I've done this open lower bracket, which is the key next to P, when I press enter it automatically has made a new one, which is a closed lower bracket. And what this means is we can make an event inside this primary function. So we're going to tell this script that if the username one text field has my name in the field and in the password one.text field has password written in it, close bracket, that it's right and the credentials match. So as long as it says my name and password in those two fields and what I type into the simulation, then it will grant me access to the main directory. However, if I don't put that information in, or put something wrong in, that's when it will flash up username or password is incorrect. Now next we need to put the transition in so that it takes us from scene 1 to scene 2. Now we do this by doing the lower bracket again, enter, and we can type in the middle again. So we want to go to another scene, which is also known as a movie clip. So we type in movie clip, open bracket, this root, so this file, we want it to go to and play frame 1 of scene 2, close bracket, semicolon, however, if those do not match, we need it to say the command incorrect username or password. So we type in else, open lower bracket, enter, text1.text equals incorrect username or password. It's already closed it for us, so that helps. Oh, I almost forgot, you need to also add a semicolon there. And that's that first bit done. We now need to link the button, so the button knows that once it's clicked, do the password check. If the password check is correct, then use the navigation script, which is this bit here, the movie clip, then take us to scene 2. But if it's incorrect, then say that it's incorrect and do not let it go further. So login 1, which is the button, we want to add an event listener, and then an event listener basically waits for this command, so a mouse event, which is what we're going to type now, open bracket, mouse event dot, so when it's clicked, do the password check, close, semicolon, enter. So we've stopped it, we've written our password check, we're saying when it's correct, go to this file, or go to this scene even. If it's incorrect, show this to the user. And we've told the button that once it's clicked, to do this command script. Now, let's see if it works. So good. Our stop script is still working. Now let's type in my username, and let's type in password. Oh no, it hasn't worked because I put a capital P in the password. Well, that's okay, because I've also noticed that the password is showing you what it's actually saying. It's not hidden it. So now let's click on password, display as password, tick that box. We'll try again. There we go, now it's hiding our password. I'm going to click login. Now I can see over here in my output that something's gone wrong. Now what's gone wrong is it can't find scene 2 because I haven't actually made it yet. So I'm going to go to insert, scene. Now I'm on scene 2, as indicated over here. And I can switch between my scenes on these two layers here. So in this scene, I'm going to put my background on there. I'm going to lock that layer up, make a new layer, put some text on there saying welcome to scene 2. And then I need to add a stop script to this scene so it doesn't automatically jump back to the beginning of the movie. So I'm going to click actions, type in stop, open bracket, close bracket, semicolon, save. Go back to scene 1. If I test it again, type in my username, password, and click login. As you can see, I'm now in my second scene. Now, thanks for watching. In my next tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make an interactive, animated, kind of virtual simulated desktop of Windows with a taskbar, start menu, shortcuts, things like that. And some other little things that I found on the way of making my own simulations. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, please comment below. Let me know if you're stuck or you need a hand with anything, or if you have a suggestion for a tutorial, let me know. Cheers. Goodbye.